We just talked about in the previous video how the moon has no enemies, and how that is a profound way of thinking about how there's no situation in life that you can't adapt to, and that there's no situation in life that your mental perspective can't work itself to change and get yourself out of. The only enemy of the moon is when Saturn is conjunct the moon, and anyone can have the tendency, you don't have to have it in your chart, but the only enemy of the moon is when you excessively ruminate on problems in life, and when you're thinking way too deeply about the negative aspects and the inevitable burdens that we all have to deal with. So that's the one enemy of the moon. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the friends of the moon. And those two friends are the sun and Mercury. And how when the sun and Mercury are either conjunct, giving a strong aspect, or the moon is in the sun sign Leo or in Mercury signs, the moon is empowered to express itself in a much healthier manner. And in Vedic astrology, the relationships of the planets, it's probably the most fundamental and important aspect of what makes a planet express its agenda in our consciousness the healthiest, healthy or unhealthy. So each planet's treating every other planet as either a friend, as neutral, or as an enemy. And so whether you have one of the friends, neutrals, or enemies looking at the planet, it's going to change how that planet expresses what it's trying to express within us. And these are called Lajjitaadi Avasthas, and that means the states of the planets, or the condition that planet is in. And if you want an extensive report on your specific Lajjitaadi Avasthas, you can order that report at jmvedic.com. It's the complete natal chart reading, the PDF that I create based on your chart, and these Avasthas are a very big part of that report, and so you can investigate them in more detail. So let's begin with the divine masculine, the sun, the solar force within us, and how it supports the lunar force in our consciousness, the moon. So when the sun is giving a strong aspect to the moon, or is conjunct the moon, or the moon is in Leo, it's in the sun's sign, the person feels the importance of receiving validation from important people and respected people, because the moon, it thrives on being validated by other people. We want to feel that other people appreciate and love us. We don't want to feel unappreciated, and that's what the moon is doing. It's receiving information from the world around us, and when we're receiving validation, what we're doing is we're receiving something good. Someone's telling us that, yes, the way that you see the world, your ego, your individuality, you're doing something right, or I agree with you on that. What those things do, it help us feel that it helps us improve our self-image. And so the people that can give us the deepest sense of validation or improve it the most are the authority figures in our life. And the sun represents authority figures and people who are in charge. And so when these people who have power, when they look at our small self, when they look at us and say, yep, you're doing a really good job, that makes us create a very healthy sense of our own self-image. We look at ourselves better. So when the sun and the moon are in this harmonious relationship, what happens is it boosts our lunar consciousness, and we're realizing that respected authorities, people, it's not just any authority. If we don't respect the authority, then their validation, it could actually be negative. If we don't respect them and they saying we're doing a good job, then we might be doing a bad job. It's like an evil person, and they say, oh, you're doing good. Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. You have to respect the person for you to feel good if they're looking at you in a positive light. So the lunar consciousness, when respected authorities are looking at us, you're not just feeling good about yourself. You are feeling good about yourself, but not just that. It also helps you to envision a better and more prosperous life where you can get your needs met, whatever your needs may be. So on one hand, your lunar consciousness feels good. Oh yeah, this is improving my self-image. And then from that, I can see where I can adapt in that positive direction. I can keep doing that. So it helps the moon to see what it should continue doing, and changing or not changing, or even magnifying something that you're doing to get you in an even better place to get your needs met in life, or keep doing the same thing because it's going to get you in a place where you're feeling good, you're receiving good things from life. So I touched on this when I talked about the sun's friends video, how the moon is the friend of the sun as well. And it's worth reiterating is that when we're living the pure expression of our soul and getting as close to expressing what our soul wants to do in our life, what our calling is, what our soul is calling us to do, what we're most passionate about expressing, we naturally feel good about that. And when we're doing something that is not a reflection of what our soul wants, we don't feel good about it. And that feeling, that intuitive sense that something is going right, that's our emotional center, that's our lunar consciousness. And so when we are doing something positive, or when our lunar consciousness is healthy and it's getting supported by the solar consciousness, our soul, what we're doing, our soul's path is operating well. It's naturally boosting the lunar part of us, the sensation that might not be able to explain exactly what we're doing, but we feel good about what's happening. We're getting a natural boost emotionally when our solar and lunar forces are operating together. So what that does is it increases the strength of your intuition, so the healthy moon, it feels a closer connection to the world around us, and it's being able to read the environment with greater clarity. So when our solar force is expressing itself really healthily, and it's supporting our ability to read the world around us, our intuitive perception of the world, and what it does is it creates greater clarity to our intuitive side, to our lunar consciousness. And this goes with being able to feel wrong about it when we're in a wrong environment, when something bad is happening. Our intuitive center increases, and our ability to perceive accurately what's happening in our life is boosted. And we feel that we can navigate and change situations because we know what's right for our soul. We've been working on our solar consciousness, and the more we're boosting that, then that is also showing our emotional side. It's helping to increase our abilities of intuition. So they work hand in hand. The soul expressing the purity of itself increases the purity of the intuition, the lunar side, to be able to read the world around us more clearly. So when that's happening, we're able to get to quick decisions intuitively about what's right for us or what's wrong for us. So our inner guidance system is magnified, and we can be healthily guided by our emotions, which helps us make healthy decisions about what to allow into our lives, what to receive into us. Because that's what the moon is. When where all of this is being magnified, our inner guidance system, we know what to bring in and what not to bring in, and what to receive and what not to receive, and what to block ourselves off from, because those aren't healthy for us, or those are things that we don't need. So the healthy moon is receiving good things and knows what things are what it needs to receive. So the sun and moon operating together, these two are the two most important planets to be working harmoniously within you when it comes to creating a life that helps you elevate your individuality to a more divine perspective, to see the deeper meaning of life and who you are on the deepest level. You need the sun and moon operating harmoniously with one another. So they're the king and queen in the sky. They're the two most dominant planetary bodies in the sky. And they're the two most dominant planetary bodies in ourselves. They're the king and queen within ourselves. They're the core of our individuality, and they work together. So any dysfunction within your kingdom or in your life, anything that's going on in your life, eventually has to be responded to by the two sovereigns, the king and queen. So eventually the problem has to come back to them. And what does that mean? Eventually the problem comes back to our individuality. Who are we really expressing our solar force? All the things I've talked about. Are we expressing a healthy lunar force? Is our soul doing what it wants to be doing? Are we perceiving the world with a healthy attitude? All of the dysfunction eventually comes back, and it has to be addressed by these two forces. So when these two are working harmoniously within you, you're not only able to express your soul, your deepest needs of your soul, and you're able to clarify your intuition, your lunar side, what you're doing is you're empowering yourself from this external action, the soul expressing itself, the solar force, and then the ability, the lunar force, the receiving part of you, receiving accurately and reading the world and perceiving the world from a healthy perspective and being able to adapt and change to it. So when these two are flowing fluidly, it's elevating your consciousness into these are two planets that in Vedic astrology we call sattvic planets. And what that means is that these two planets are motivated to elevate yourself into being able to spiritually grow, essentially, is the kind of the easiest way I can put it. To be able to feel good naturally about just being. And when these two planets are motivating you just to be yourself, your core individuality isn't affected in a deep sense of all of the other things that are going on in life. Your core individuality is boosted, and your perspective on life, your attitude, and your ability to just live as who you are as an individual is so much more powerful. So there's no really underestimating having these two planets healthy in your life, and when they're working together, everything else about your life improves. So the second friend of the moon is Mercury. And the relationship between the moon and Mercury is interesting because the moon treats Mercury as a friend. So when Mercury's around, the moon likes having Mercury around. When Mercury is giving a strong aspect, when Mercury is conjunct the moon, or when the moon is in Mercury's sign. So the moon likes the look of Mercury. But it's the opposite. Mercury doesn't like the moon, and it treats the moon as an enemy. And so we're going to talk more about that a little in the Mercury videos. And so it's an interesting combination. There's a lot to learn from it. But now we're going to be talking about why Mercury makes the moon feel good, why it's a friend to her. So Mercury is the force within us in our consciousness of human nature that shows our ability to make friendships and the relationships that help us get along better in life. When we can enjoy the world around us with another person, where we can mutually benefit one another, but it doesn't cross over into a romantic relationship, because that changing from friendship to romantic, it changes the dynamics within us and how we feel about the situation. So when Mercury, the mercurial consciousness of friendship, is helping the moon, the person feels especially enriched by their friendships. And Mercury and friendships in general help the person grow in a positive direction. It helps a person adapt to the world better. And friendships become a very important source of emotional well-being. Simply put, friendships play an important part about your self-image and how you feel about yourself, and ideally in a healthy direction. And you don't keep friends around that make you feel bad about yourself. You keep friends around that make you feel good about yourself. So that's how Mercury is helping the moon. It helps the moon in self-image and helps your ego, because it gives, like I was mentioning before, that validation, not from a big powerful person or not from your boss, but from someone else who sees the world how you see it, your friends. And when those people are there to support you, naturally life can flow better, and you feel good about yourself. You feel content, you feel at peace when you just have a simple conversation with someone with who you see the world in a similar way. You share the same outlook, and that's why you're friends. So the Mercury force within us is also our ability to experiment with all of the infinite possibilities of life, to be able to try something out of curiosity and in a playful manner, to just look around and to see what could be in the world. And a healthy Mercury is able to look at something and not be committed to it. You're just checking it out. Oh, I was looking at that book and I was flipping through, I'm reading the book. Doesn't mean this book is the be all and end all of my life. I'm just reading it. I'm just seeing what it has to say. So that's what Mercury does. It tests the waters, you can say, about life. It's just checking all the possibilities. And so it's investigating the world and analyzing things as objectively as it can. So when Mercury is helping the moon within us, your ability to adapt and change to situations, which is what the moon is always doing, it gets elevated because you have this Mercury part of you having this objective eye to other situations or to your current situation, and how the current situation or a different situation can bring you what you need in your life, or it can help you show you what you objectively need to change about yourself. So, or what you need to change about your environment or your situation. So our moon, this intuitive part of us, it's getting helped by the analytics of Mercury. It's helping the intuition read the environment and arrive at conclusions, intuitive conclusions, much quicker. So essentially your analysis of the world and of situations speeds up. So if you're walking around all the time and you're just reading the room intuitively, you can do that. That's the moon operating alone, just to get this perception of what's happening. But what Mercury is doing, it is helping you to actually get those details in order. And they all create this sensation, this intuitive response to something. So the Mercury is helping the moon out. It's getting to the same endpoint of an intuitive response much faster, because your ability to analyze and to be able to objectively read all the different possibilities in a situation is heightened. So that's what Mercury likes to do. It likes to play with what could happen. And as I was saying, it helps us to see, oh, I could do that. That could lead me into a better direction if I change that part about me. That's what Mercury is doing. It's investigating what you potentially could change about yourself or about your life. So whether it's making new friendships or being social and communicative with the outside world, seeing, because that's what the moon loves to do. And Mercury also is a very social and communicative planet. So it's experimenting and navigating the outside world and being able to work together with other people through communication in order to get our needs met. What Mercury is helping the moon do is to see all of the things that the world has to offer us. So a healthy lunar consciousness is not always in, okay, let's just see how it feels, as I was saying, and being driven by just our emotional, intuitive reaction all the time. The moon also engages through empathy with the world around us in order to entertain new possibilities and new ideas and to see whether they're right for us or not. So that's what Mercury helps the moon do, is to engage and see, oh yeah, I'm not committing to anything, but I can, find something about that person or that situation that, oh, I could bring that into my life. I could receive that in. Should I change myself to be more like them? It's just kind of that objective observation of what could be for you. And of course, Mercury makes life more fun and lighthearted. Mercury is the comedic aspect of our life too. It's a comedic aspect of our consciousness. It doesn't take things too seriously. And very often in life, we don't know if we like something until we try it. And sometimes we think we'll like something and we need that, we want to receive that, and we try it and we realize it's not for us in any way, shape, or form. So this is how experimenting with trying new things, to try a new possibility to get our life back in a better direction, to steer us on the right path. We really need to be experimenting with life, and that's what the moon does. To see if something is right for me to receive it, I've got to somehow try it out in a non-committal, in a non-judgmental way. And oftentimes when we make friends, or we at least give people a chance and we try friendships out with the most unlikely people who we have never imagined, that's a healthy Mercury helping the moon. Those friendships, those unexpected friendships expand our perception of the world in these totally new ways we couldn't have foreseen. And what those friendships do, and those situations that we just tried out and it turned out it was for us, all of that helps the moon. It helps our ego because it improves our self-image. When we try and we succeed, or we try and we fail, we realize we don't want that anymore, that possibility we've grown out of. What we're doing is we're growing emotionally. Our self-image, our perception of the world is expanding. We're learning more about ourselves. We're learning more about what we need. And these are all aspects of the healthy lunar consciousness. So Mercury working with the moon helps us be more communicative, to see that something could be for us. It could eventually, we could bring that into our life, receive that, and it can improve our emotional well-being. But we have to first have the eyes to the world that, oh yeah, if I just try something out, to be able to look at all of those potentialities and say, oh yeah, have everything arranged out in front of you, and then to be able to see how they feel and to be experiment and investigate life. So all of those at the end of the day help the moon grow in self-awareness, to learn more about itself, and to eventually help the lunar consciousness to bring the things that we need in our life, to feel positive about the things that we're bringing into ourselves.